Okay, so let's talk sleep. I've done a few posts about this recently with the importance of sleep, both sleep quantity and quality. But in a nutshell, lack of sleep quality and quantity is associated with an increased risk of obesity, metabolic diseases like diabetes, conditions such as Alzheimer's, some cancers, cardiovascular disease. There's basically nothing that chronic sleep deprivation won't negatively affect, essentially, okay? It's so important. Now, there are so many things that you can do to get better sleep, okay? But I can only focus on one really because there's just so many. I actually wrote a article for my private group just recently, which I think had 17 different points on. But obviously, like I said, I can't go into all of them because we'll be here all night. But I'm going to focus on one that I think is extremely prevalent nowadays with today's society, and one that you can change very quickly, and that is your exposure to artificial light, especially in the evenings, okay? Now, I need to try and condense this, but essentially, the reason this is important is we have sleep cycles. You've probably heard of your circadian rhythm. Now, this runs primarily on light exposure, okay? So there are specific cells in our eyes that pick up light, and in a nutshell, when they see light, they activate daytime mode, okay? To put it very, very briefly. So even though you know that it's 10 p.m. and it's time for bed and you look outside and it's dark, your internal rhythms don't know this, okay? Now, this becomes a problem because so many of us are staring at screens right up until we go to bedtime, okay? And then we expect to be able to just unplug and switch off like a computer. However, this is not how it works, okay? As long as your eyes are picking up light, be that daylight, natural light, or artificial light, it suppresses the hormone melatonin. Now, you've probably heard of melatonin. It is our sleep hormone. And basically, it sort of gears us down for bed, essentially, okay? It makes us tired as such. And there is actually also quite interesting research coming out on melatonin. It's also a very powerful antioxidant and an anti-carcinogen. So there is preliminary research that it can help to protect against some forms of cancer, in specific breast cancer. Okay, but again, preliminary research. But basically, melatonin is awesome for so many things. Now, when we're looking at light, we are suppressing this melatonin, okay? Now, if you tend to be one of those people that are staring at screens right up until you go to bed, and this can be TVs, iPhones, laptops, etc., you may find that it takes you a while to get to sleep. You may find that you wake up quite a few times during the night, and you may feel that even though you get lots of sleep, you never really feel properly refreshed, okay? And even if none of these apply to you, there can still be negative effects. And this is one of the biggest problems with sleep, I think, in the fact that people will say, well, I feel fine. You know, I sleep X amount of hours, but I feel fine. And that's great. And I used to be one of those people as well. But just because you feel fine doesn't mean everything underneath the surface is fine, essentially, okay? So in a massive, to summarize, you have to find ways to reduce your exposure to light in the evenings, okay? Now, there are lots of different ways you can do this. The absolute best effect that you will get is no artificial light 60 to 90 minutes before bedtime, okay? Just cut it out, okay? Now, obviously, that's not practical for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. So there are things, if you have to look at screens, etc., that you can do. So, for example, with your laptop, you can download a software called Flux, which is spelled F.LUX. And essentially what this does is, closer to sunset, it dims your screen, okay, to match the light outside, okay? You can also do this on phones. I'm not sure about Androids, but I know that iPhones, if you go into settings, display and brightness, there is a mode called, I think it's called night shift mode. And essentially it does the same thing. It dims your screen in the evenings, okay? What you also want, you can actually also get blue light blocking glasses, which I've tried recently, which I find to be, you know, there are studies that have shown that you can get these off Amazon. I think mine cost me like £30, but you can get them cheaper. And essentially there have been studies that show you can use your screens whilst wearing these and it doesn't suppress melatonin, okay? You want to also try and focus on turning off any overhead lights. So any big overhead lights like the one I've got on right now, you want to turn them off, use small side lights, okay? So just reduce as much as you can, okay? Even use candles if you can, leading right up to bed, just candles. But obviously, as always, fire hazard, be careful, because burning your house down will affect sleep, 100%, okay? So be careful with those as always. Also, just keep your room as dark as possible. So this, again, is melatonin release, and this includes going through the night, so use blackout blinds, etc. Use an eye mask if possible. It just needs to be as dark as possible in your bedroom, okay? And, you know, like I say, even if you have to use screens late in the evening, just try and have at least some screen-free time, okay, before you go to bed. Even if it's just 30 minutes, just no screens. Set your alarm, put your phone face down, read a book, do some stretching, do some meditation, anything. Just try and have some time away from the screen, okay? Now, I've been doing this recently and I genuinely cannot tell you the difference it's made to me. I fall asleep, it used to take me a while to fall asleep, I fall asleep a lot quicker, I don't wake up as much during the night, I feel so much more refreshed in the mornings. And like I said, you know, sleep is so important, but like I say, I think the biggest problem with sleep is that people just say, well, I feel fine, okay? But again, you know, I've spoke about this, look at posts I've done before. Just because you feel fine doesn't mean that there isn't a risk, okay? And there is a risk. So just try and get more sleep, okay? And again, this is a big one. Artificial light in the evening, try and reduce it, okay? So there's one for tonight, guys. Hopefully you got some value from that. If you did, please feel free to hit all the buttons, like, love, haha, wow. I always appreciate it. And it helps to send the video out to more people, which is always my goal. So please do that. I always appreciate it. Have a fantastic evening, and I shall see you on the next video.